Spoiler alert. The following will contain spoilers for The Mandalorian. What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man, from E-Man's Movie Reviews. You already know what time it is. We just got Chapter 11 of The Mandalorian, and I gotta say, this felt like a treat for all of us Star Wars fans, especially the ones that have been watching like everything within the Star Wars franchise. And more specifically, I would say if you've been watching, Star Wars Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels, the animated stuff, this all finally gave like a huge payoff all within this episode. I mean, I was personally cheering when a certain cameo came through, and the other obvious hints that were alluded to for the episodes to come. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the episode. I'll do my best to explain some of the major reveals and a lot of the references that were made for some of you that might not be all that familiar with it. So without further ado, let's get into it. We pick up from Chapter 10 with Mando's banged up ship making its way to the next planet where the Frog Lady's husband is waiting for her. With the ship being so janky and broke down, they manage to make a not-so-soft landing. The Frog Lady reunites with her husband as Baby Yoda sadly looks on, feeling a little bit depressed that he can't eat other people's children anymore. Mando asks the Frogman about where he can find the other Mandalorians, and the Frogman directs him to the nearest inn. Meanwhile, a beautiful, mysterious stalker is watching from far away. Two things real quick. First of all, I love the practical effects that they do here, mixed in with like the digital stuff, right? Like it's just, seeing the ship landing and falling in the water and everything. I just love those type of practical effects. It just makes it all feel so real. Second thing, Sasha Banks' fine little self can stalk me any day. Mando heads to the inn to get some more information about the other Mandalorians. A local seaman says that he can take Mando to the other Mandalorians for a price. Mando agrees and sets sail with the seaman and his crew. While on the ship, the seaman asks Mando if he's ever seen a Mamacor eat. Mando peers over for a look, and suddenly the seaman knocks Baby Yoda into the feeding port. Strong is the force of karma, as Baby Yoda is swallowed whole, just like he swallowed the Frog Lady's eggs. Mando quickly dives in to save the child, but the seamen lock him up inside. Ever since Mando walked into the inn, I just automatically had like a bad feeling about these seamen or whatever, because like the guy just kind of seemed shady from the jump, and it all just seemed way too easy. But what really disappointed me here was just how trustworthy Mando was with this whole deal. I mean, you're a trained killer. You deal with shady people all day for however long, almost all your life. And you couldn't spot this trick coming? And on top of that, you just gonna put Baby Yoda in harm's way like that? I mean, look, I get it. Like, obviously this was a setup so that, the next scene that's about to happen were to actually move forward. But I just kind of think they could have set this up a little bit better. Maybe trap Mando a little bit more creatively, so that way we're not really compromising his character just to be a plot device to move the story forward. As Mando struggles, a group of Mandalorians swoop in and start kicking butt. They save Mando and also Baby Yoda from the Mamacor creature. Mando thanks them, and before he can finish telling them about his mission, the Mandalorians remove their helmets. We're now introduced to Bo-Katan. Mando questions who they really are because, as he knows it, Mandalorians are never to reveal their faces. The other Mandalorians realize that Mando is actually a child of the Watch, and because of that, he is adhering to an ancient way of the Mandalorians. Either way, Mando has spoken and he leaves the scene. Well, there is a lot to unpack here. First of all, hello Bo-Katan. And let me just say, I really, really love Katie Sackhoff. I mean, she's just like one of those dedicated actors that really respects, the character and the genre that she works in. She does a lot of sci-fi things. You probably recognize her from a lot of different sci-fi shows and movies. And I just love the fact that she really just treats it no differently than, like an Oscar award winning actor would treat some, Shakespearean script or something, to me, she's kind of like the female version of Carl Urban. And if you've seen Carl Urban in like anything comic book related, that man is dedicated to that character. Now, many of you Star Wars fans probably already knew this, but for those of you who didn't, Katie Sackhoff has also voiced the character of Bo-Katan in the animated series Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. So now that we can actually see and hear her as the character, it was just a perfect marriage. Now, if you happen to be kind of lost about what she was talking about to Mando, about the children of the Watch and all these other things that happen with the Mandalorians, well, you kind of need to go watch Star Wars The Clone Wars, the animated series, and Star Wars Rebels. Both of those series really flesh out all the Mandalorian lore, and they give you all the context and background history, about their culture and their politics and all the events that transpire. And The Mandalorian, this Disney Plus series, it really just kind of expands that story that's already been built up. So sadly, it would not only take a longer time, but probably a completely separate video just to explain all of the Mandalorian history. What I'll try to do is just kind of give you the bare backbone of what happened, and I'll do the best I can not to spoil anything, just in case some of you actually do decide to go watch the Clone Wars and Rebels. And I highly recommend you do. So for the time being, all you need to know right now is that there was a civil war between the Mandalorians on their planet, Mandalore. One side wanted to be pacifist, and the other side wanted to keep on to the old ancient ways of their ancient warrior race culture. You can kind of think of them as like, the warriors from 300 in Sparta, like fighting and dying in war and everything. That was everything for them. Now, Bo-Katan, she had picked the warrior side and joined a terrorist regime of Mandalorians called Death Watch. After a change in leadership within Death Watch, Bo-Katan left the group. These were the religious zealots that she was referring to earlier when she was talking to Mando. One other thing to know is that Death Watch performed some terrorist acts on their own planet, and at the same time, they would swoop in and act like liberators to their own people. So imagine them planting a bomb and then coming in as the rescue team afterwards. This was a way for them to gain public trust and support. In the midst of all this, they would also save and recruit children to their cause. These children were known as the Children of the Watch. So this kind of gives you a little bit more context with Mando and his upbringing. So now that you have that basis to work off of, let's talk about the implications of Mando being a child of the Watch. We saw in flashbacks that Mando's parents were killed by droids, which is why Mando hates androids. However, if it was actually Death Watch that was behind that attack after all, then the same people who saved Mando were also the ones to not only send those androids, but to also be the cause of his trauma. So imagine what will happen eventually when Mando discovers that ugly truth. Will Mando give up the way of the Mandalorian? Now, outside of this show, right, like in the real world, the main actor, Pedro Pascal, it was reported that he, was having creative differences, with the other showrunners for The Mandalorian. And one of the things that was reported, so I don't know if this was like concrete or not, but one of the things that was reported was that he basically wanted more face time without his helmet on. And, look, I'll be honest, like I was one of those people that was kind of like, that's, just that Hollywood ego where you can't just like play the character. You knew going in this character was going to have a helmet on because that's how the whole race of people operate. But this element does kind of potentially change things. I mean, Bo-Katan is kind of coming in with a new alternative way for Mandalorians to live, and that does not include a 24-hour helmet. So I don't know, maybe this actually will, change things up, and maybe Mando will change his ways. I don't know. What do you think? Mando returns to the docks only to be met by Corran, who wants to get revenge for the death of his brother. Bo-Katan and the other Mandalorians swoop in again and shoot them all down. While getting a drink, Bo-Katan informs Mando that Trask is a black market port which is selling weapons that were stolen from Mandalore. Bo-Katan wants to get those weapons back and give it back to the people of her home planet in order to retake Mandalore. Mando doesn't care about any of that because his mission is to return Baby Yoda to the Jedi. Bo-Katan said that she will lead him to one of the Jedi in exchange for his help with their mission. Mando agrees, but first he has to drop Baby Yoda off with probably the last place he ever should, and that's with the Frog Lady and her eggs. Alright, couple of things here. Bo-Katan mentioned how the weapons were not only stolen from Mandalore, but they also need to reclaim Mandalore too. So for you Star Wars Rebels fans, you know that the last time we saw Bo-Katan, she was actually the one that was the ruler of Mandalore. However, clearly something happened in between that time. And if I'm not mistaken, the Mandalorian show takes place around like 4 to 5 years after the ending of Star Wars Rebels. So again, clearly there was some sort of power shift that happened, but we'll come back to that later. Because right now, I have to just shake my head at Mando leaving Baby Yoda with these frog people. I mean, I know in my last video, I asked you all if Baby Yoda was, maybe borderline trash for eating that poor frog lady's babies. And, it's so funny because, just reading the comments, everybody was actually kind of mixed. Some people was like, yeah, Baby Yoda's a jerk. Baby Yoda's trash. And some people was like, yo, it's just a kid. Lay off of the kid, I just know for myself, I was really hoping that for this entire episode, they wouldn't have Baby Yoda tapping into his dark side and doing even more bogus stuff. I mean, could you imagine Baby Yoda force choking the frog people and popping those eggs in his mouth as they sit there and watch helplessly? All I'm saying is people do crazy things when they're hungry. Don't act like you haven't. Mando sets off with the other Mandalorians to board the ship. The Imperial forces begin to prep for the Mandalorians and seal the hatches. Of course, that doesn't matter as the Mandalorians make their way to the cargo bay. They open up the ship's doors which suck out the troopers. Bo-Katan informs the captain of the ship that they're not here to take just a few weapons, but rather the entire ship itself. Mando is caught off guard with this, and he doesn't like the fact that she's altered the terms of their deal. She tells Mando that she needs something that once was hers in order for her to rule Mandalore. So Mando better fall in line if he wants her help to find the Jedi. Alright, so a little bit more context. Again, for those of you who don't know, Bo-Katan is referring to the Dark Saber. The Dark Saber is the lightsaber that we saw back in Chapter 8. Moff Gideon was wielding it, and for many Star Wars fans, it was a shocking development to see it in his possession. Again, without giving too many spoilers, because, you should go upgrade your life and go watch Clone Wars and Rebels if you haven't by now. But the Dark Saber is an ancient lightsaber that belongs to the Mandalorian people. For them, whoever wields it rules Mandalore. So this implies that with Moff Gideon having the Dark Saber, he's got Mandalorians under his rule. As Bo-Katan mentioned here, she had the Dark Saber last, but some way, shape, or form, it was taken from her. According to Mandalorian tradition, a trial by combat, usually to the death, would take place in order to change possession of the saber. However, it doesn't sound like or look like that's what happened since both Bo-Katan and Moff Gideon are both still alive. So maybe the Darksaber was either stolen from her or taken by some other means. We don't really know because that's some history that has yet to be revealed to us. So what do you think caused Bo-Katan to lose the Darksaber to Moff Gideon? Moff Gideon contacts the captain of the ship and gives him the subtle command not to allow the ship to fall into enemy hands. The captain understands, shoots his pilots, and begins to take the ship down to crash it. The Mandalorians are unable to get to the bridge of the ship because it's being blocked by a number of stormtroopers. Mando puts his Beskar armor to work by running headfirst into the fire and throws some bombs, which blows the stormtroopers away. They reach the bridge and prevent the ship from crashing. As Bo-Katan interrogates the captain, he commits suicide out of fear of facing the wrath of Moff Gideon. Before Mando leaves, Bo-Katan tells Mando to go to the planet of Corvus and seek out Ahsoka Tano. And there it is, Ahsoka Tano, aka one of the greatest Jedi out there in the galaxy. She has finally come into the Mandalorian. And you know what? If you were a Star Wars fan, and if you were following the news, you already kind of knew this, that this was eventually going to come because it was already reported earlier this year, I want to say, that Rosario Dawson was going to take on the role of Ahsoka Tano. Fans have constantly been trying to cast her as Ahsoka Tano in like a live action Star Wars movie or series. So the fact that this dream cast is actually coming true, again, is yet another treat for Star Wars fans. And I think like the cooler thing about this is the fact that, you know, it was also reported that an Ahsoka Tano live action series would be coming to Disney Plus too. So for me, I'm just like even more geeked about this because again, first of all, Ahsoka Tano is like ridiculously dope. And again, you have to watch Star Wars Clone Wars and Rebels to really understand how amazing she really is. But the better part about this, for me anyway, is that this is a non-Skywalker centered story, which I'm fine with. I'm like, yo, this galaxy is huge. We need to explore more characters, different storylines that don't all just revolve around Skywalker. That's done with. So I'm hoping that the Ahsoka Tano one does the same thing. So just like how The Mandalorian is trying to tell a fresh story, I'm hoping we get the same new path carved out for Ahsoka Tano. And again, like the best thing, and I can't keep reiterating this, the coolest thing about this is old and new Star Wars fans, now we can actually come together and, you know, there doesn't have to be all this gatekeeping or whatever. Everybody can just enjoy this stuff at the same time. And I think that is awesome. So what do you think is going to happen when Mando finally meets Ahsoka Tano and she sees Baby Yoda? I can't shake this feeling, but I get the feeling she's going to be like, oh, look, that's Yoda's people. Anyway, I've got this other missing persons mission I got to deal with. So, yeah, good luck with that, Mando. We go back to Baby Yoda pretending to care for this newborn baby tadpole. Mando returns back from his mission to take Baby Yoda back to the ship, and Baby Yoda doesn't appreciate leaving his dinner behind. While on the ship, a starfish-like creature approaches Baby Yoda in order to attack him, but Mando quickly snatches the creature and kills it. Baby Yoda finally gets to enjoy his Happy Meal. Look, I already know what some people are going to say, you know, hey, E-Man, Baby Yoda had a change of heart. He was starting to care about the frog people, you know, maybe even loving the little tadpole that was his friend. Yeah, I'm gonna call BS on that. Let's not get it twisted. Baby Yoda is a whole apex predator. It might look like he's playing with that tadpole in the water, but I bet you in his mind, he was probably basting that little creature in some type of seasoned marinade or something. Anyway, what did you think about this episode? Are you excited to see Ahsoka Tano coming up? I gotta say, I'm still a little iffy on the fact that these episodes are so short because it just makes me want to like binge the series rather than waiting every week for it. But either way, I'm still entertained. Anyway, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. I truly, really do appreciate it. If you're new here and you like what you see, feel free to like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss out the next time I drop a video. Until then, I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.